Hold on a second. I'm gonna adjust this. I'm still white though. What?
You said how can I be less white? And Will goes, learn to dance, learn to like spicy food.
Oh my god, shut up.
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast. Today,
Unresolved textual tension.
As I was saying, today is once again just the girls' day. We're already off to a great start. It's me, your host, Maria, and my beautiful co-host, Katie. And as you can see, William is not here. This is a no-Will zone.
No boys allowed.
Unless you're a boy other than Will, in which case you're allowed to be here.
Just scratch the no boys allowed thing.
No Wills allowed.
No wills allowed.
Even though I'm pretty sure he's still stalking somewhere, in the comments from our patrons, he's there. So today we are doing a rewrite of a book that Katie and I did on our own. It was the last No Will episode, and it
Is this our
No Will?
Oh, okay. No will.
No Will. Max, you can stay. Your name isn't Will, so you're good. Your name is Max. Yes to Max. Katie, you're here to beat Bob.
My brain is really foggy. Everyone, I have already previously stated this to the people who are here live, but I am a little sick, so I'm already slow, but now, like, you know, my CPU in my body is really overheated.
Anyway, we are rewriting Swordheart, a book that we did. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it. It's just Katie
Please
and
do.
I. It's absolute chaos. Katie said things that had to...
Brine and balls.
Everyone, cheers. That is a reference that unfortunately, unless you were there for the actual recording, the live stream we did, you will never fully understand that because Will has artfully...
Torn it asunder.
No, made Katie safe for work, otherwise we never would have been able to post that video. Katie had to be censored for the good of the channel. But yeah, so we're doing a rewrite. It was a book that... Katie, if you had to say in a sentence overall how you felt about the book, what would you say? For those who have not watched our previous video and for some reason aren't going to go watch it.
Delightfully titillating and yet still underwhelming.
I would say cute, cozy, and nonsensical.
I would say still titillating.
Angry Otter is making lots of good points for making the sort of butch lesbian who is still into boobies.
Could you imagine a female Sargus?
I know, I was just that...
That's actually, like, so I am very rarely into girl stories, mostly because I just have, like, PTSD to my own relationships in the past. But also there's I like the masculinity of a relationship. It's something that I personally, like, look for when I'm reading a romance. But when it comes to butch lesbians with, oh, God, I love me some of that. I mean, again, if I could romance Carlac right now, for those of you who understand that reference, I would, but I have not played deep enough into the game, so.
Will, leave! I want you to know we're sitting here talking about, you know, like, this whole thing, and then a comment appears, boo, make her hot to the male gaze, boo. We had a lot of issues with that story, mainly within what it was trying to do itself. The actual last half of it
was very watered down, weak. The very first half was very... not very first. The first half was very good. It was very fun. There were a lot of, like, comedic beats that tickled my fancy. But then, as Maria and I concluded, there were some, unrealistic within the world itself and the characters themselves, like, things happening. For example, one character got very upset where it didn't really feel like she should have gotten upset, and it was like a cliche plot beat that happens usually at this point in time with the things that are happening in the story. And then also there are some characters where it's like, why didn't you do more with them? There was a lot of, yeah.
A big complaint we had was that outside of the main cast of characters, all the side characters were very flat and one note. A lot of the villains were, like, just no depth, mustache twirling. And it made, because the main characters were pretty fleshed out, I made the argument that in like camp stories or something like The Princess Bride, everyone is pretty flat, but it works because everyone is pretty flat. It's not like one person has like huge depths. But the problem with a book like this is when you have some characters have a lot of depth, even like there was like a random side character who had more development to like, or just like detail to her life. The one lady who kept coming up trying to give her
as
advice.
soon as you said the one lady, I was like, oh wait, you mean that one really great world building aspect that is a great character, but she means nothing.
That makes the story for us a little bit weaker. I also felt that like the story is just a giant like go here, do a thing, go back here, do a thing, and like that's the and then go back here. We literally go to the same city 3 times in this book. There are places where it just has a bit of weakness. And as a bit of a summary, again, for those who for some reason are watching this without watching the original video, it's a great time. Please go do that. And for those of you that did watch it, this will be repetitive. I'm sorry. The heart of this particular book is that a 35 or 36-year-old widow who has been taking care of her elderly uncle by marriage, after he dies, everything is left to her and not the rest of his family by birth. And they get really upset, and then she finds a sword that has a
man inside it,
trapped inside it, who once you unsheath the sword, he is sworn to take care of and protect you and help you. And so she goes on a quest to deal with the fact that her home has been stolen by her family. They were trying to make her marry her dumb cousin with his clammy ass hands. Again, apologies to anyone who just so happens to have clammy hands. This book is gonna just
not support you in your clammy hand issues.
And she goes on an adventure with her sword guy, and then they do the Fallens and Lurvings as they adventure. And again, this story is we go here, we come back this way, and then we have to go back here. Like it's
Mad Max. We read Mad Max Fury Road.
No. Mad Max Fury Road. The reason you go back is specific. The idea is you have been chasing a dream golden place that doesn't exist. You have to make it from the land of which. But that's my point. That when people, sorry, I'm gonna get on a soapbox. When people just say Mad Max is a car chase when they go from one place to the other, they are missing the absolute heart of the story.
That I'm the one that made you go to the movie theaters to watch this with me.
God damn it. I have so much passion. That movie is excellent. Excellent. I had to get on my high horse about something where somebody said like, I mean, it's okay. And
no, like, it's an amazing film.
Anyway, the point is, this book has some back and forthing, and over the journeying, not only do our 2 main characters, Sarkis and Sarkin, and what was her name?
It's Sarkis.
No, what's our main character's name? I've completely forgotten.
Yeah, me too. That's like, let's see if our chat is quick enough.
Oh no, guys! What is the main character's name?
Provide us with the information we should know.
I know Brindle. I still remember Brindle's name.
My brain hurts already. Trying to recall that kind of. Okay, well,
I rewatched the video. That was on me, guys.
I actually did rewatch part of it.
Hala. Her name was Hala.
Hela.
No, it's with an A. Do you guys remember the priest's name? The priest of the
I like how you're like whispering conspiratorially, and you went in.
Guys. Zane. Hala and Sarkis do the Farlands and Lurvs. They grab a cast of characters around them. The book suffers from Sarkis being a little too thirsty, a little too much commentary upon the boobs,
and also a little bit too much focus on how his breeches are getting tight, and how he has to walk around to relieve the pressure so that way nobody notices, and poor Brindle smells the effects of it. Which again, if you're interested in hearing us go off on that, please go watch the video. I'm not going to do it again. It's exhausting.
The romance has moments where it's very cute, but there's a couple other moments where it feels a bit heavy-handed. Like, one of the best character moments is when she helps him find the library that gives him...
Oh, God, yeah. That's so easily forgettable, though.
It is, because amongst everything else that's happening, but it's such an actual character building. Like, okay, obviously she's got nice boobs that we open the book with that. Again, go see the previous video. I think it would have been better if he would have not thought about her at all sexually until that moment. But anyway, the point is there are things to work on,
including a very big portion of the book that is just feels very randomly inserted, that doesn't get developed at all, which is what is it called? The roaming forest thing?
The hills, the
Okay, again, Valerie, please tell us what it is, / everyone else. But the point is there is a whole section of this book where they are in this magical realm that is kind of like aggressive towards them. And we have some kind of strange monsters that honestly I might even nix, even though I like them. The Vagrant Hills. Thank you. Fuck, Valerie. Like, you are just...
Immediately, she just got here and it's coming in clutch.
I don't know. I really liked the monsters, but they felt very out of place unless there were additional monsters like that in this place. So that's something we need to talk about.
Adjusting the magic in this book.
Oh,
and I think there's things that need to get introduced earlier or nixed, but I think you're right, Katie. I think one of the immediate things that needs to happen is we nix the actually going to the Vagrant Hills. They get mentioned, they loom in the background as a presence, and maybe somebody says to him, hey, I think you should go to the Vagrant Hills, but we don't go there, because it's just such a weird aside.
It is, and you have to ask yourself, what does it actually do to the plot as a whole? What does it provide? And honestly, it's nothing. It's nothing. It doesn't do anything.
All it is sequel bait. It is setting up that there is a way to break his curse, and that those stag people, those deer people, know how to break his curse. That's it. It's sequel bait. Also, he's cursed to be sword, and so even though at the end they're the heckin' and Lurves and they get married, he's never gonna age, and so one day she shall be old and then he shall still be his age, and so, you know, sad.
That's not necessarily true. It's because he doesn't know, because he hasn't been outside the sword long enough to know if he ages.
That's also true. But if he gets put back in the sword, the understanding is he'll go back to how he looked when he was put into it. So
that would be fascinating. Yeah.
The idea is at some point this curse should get broken, and the only thing their little side quest to the Vagrant Hills does is say, oh look, there's a way to solve your problem. Come back
here for the sequel.
Come back in book 2. And that's it. And you don't have to, there are other ways to do that. You can literally have where at the end of book 1 they get a letter from someone saying, they get 2 letters, the one being their other swords, and the second one being the answer to helping you deal with your stuff is in the Vagrant Hills, you know? And then,
dude, better yet, like the 2 old men, or not the 2 old, well, yeah, I guess the 2 old men, but there's a couple of different characters that could have provided that information, that the Vagrant Hills are a source of potential, like, solution to this problem. And even if there isn't, then just don't talk about the Vagrant Hills at all. Don't say that there's a solution. Leave it at that, and then start your sequel, and then bring it up.
Exactly. I completely agree. Like, mention the Vagrant Hills. Acknowledge that they're there. Acknowledge that you can't get too close to them. Make them a scary thing. And that way, in the second book, when we know we have to go to them, you've built it up enough as something that's kind of scary. So, yes, I agree. We also have to decide, this is one of the other things we have to decide with this rewrite. Are we going to make this just one book? Soup to nuts? Or are we going to indulge in the prospect of the sequel?
Indulge in the sequel, because that's, I think, so I already like the idea of us really changing the story quite a bit. It's because why not? That's going to, like, produce the most fun out of this, like, whole exercise. It's not a critical exercise in that regard. It's because we would want to adhere to the author's purposes. But this is going to be a lot more fun, personally, I think. But we should consider the sequel, because that is at least part of the purpose. And plus, I think this does, while I do like a self-contained piece, I think this has plenty of room for sequel stuff. There's a lot of really fun stuff that could be explored, and it really seems like this author likes sequels.
Me personally, I would like this to be a standalone. I would prefer it. I think there is merit to exploring both. I'm also interested to see, like, I think we should read the sequel and see what it does.
I think so too.
And then we can potentially answer the true question of, did this need to be 2 books, or was that dumb? After we do that. Okay. Let us begin the process of the writings. I'm going to share.
I'm back. Have they upped the boob size yet, William?
No. Ooh, okay, can you guys see my screen? Things Will wants in the story. Yep. Bigger. More. More! Oh, jeez. Okay. I think the joke's played out.
What? No, of course not. You can still
I-
go. No,
Now I
Will
can-
did not. Will did not read this book. Okay, we're gonna move on past this. Thing.
Okay, feel free to delete it.
What? No.
So we have to leave that up the whole time? No.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Done. Step 1, we have to decide how we are tackling this story. So we have 2 options. So similar to what we did for our rewrite for the Savior's Champion, we have to decide the level of disruption that we're going to have.
A lot.
What constitutes a lot for you, Katie? Because within the levels of disruption, something like just fixing the romance to make it a little less, I don't want to say twee, but a little less silly, make it a little bit more serious, kind of firm up the plot a little bit, and then fix that entire last thirds.
See, I
dumb
think we
conflict.
should. No, never mind. Maybe not. I would love for like 5 seconds to consider like a female Sarkis, but no, seriously, we should consider leaving him as he is. And also, I wouldn't want to make it too serious because the fun of this book is the cutesy bits.
So the thing is, we can talk through ideas for all 3. That's what Will and I did at our first. So we'll call it disruption level dawn,
It's so melodramatic.
noon, and midnight. Midnight disruption is so step 1 for midnight. Sarkis is a hardened, bristled lesbian warrior.
I really love that concept.
AKA Karlach. There we go. We can play with ideas and just sort them into the appropriate disruption levels. And then based on the story we create, we can pick which disruption level we want to do. Okay, guys. Throw some stuff. So I think in Dawn, one of the things that would need to get fixed is move the point of infatuation.
Oh, that. And then the Vagrant Hills, of course. Here, I'll do that one.
Okay, Karlach. Badass with a
sword.
Sweet
set of tits.
The other thing we have to deal with is how hard we want to lean into, because I think Sarkis's backstory is way darker than the rest of the
Oh my god,
the tone. Yeah.
Can we please change how do you spell Sarkis? Serki?
No, I wrote it down. Just look yonder.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Change Sarkis' background. I would like to change his background altogether. I don't like his background, period. I think it's not that interesting.
So I think we should give that darker background to our lesbian warrior.
Oh, 100%.
Yes. So she is going to keep.
Okay, so change Sarkis' background. Make it less, make it lighter or less serious.
Yeah, absolutely. Midnight is butch lesbian Sarkis. We're keeping the darker backstory and leaning into a darker tone overall.
Why haven't the host changed the font to a better one? Jeez Louise.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Well,
so what font do you want?
Font?
Shall we? Okay, here. Wait. Maria, I've got it. Maria, I've got it.
Okay, I believe in you.
Pacifico.
I raise you one better. I raise you one even better. Oh, you have to have it.
They don't have it.
They don't have papyrus?
No, they don't. Comic Sans. We could do Comic Sans.
Now this is readable, easy to see,
100%.
clear.
Here we go.
Ooh. Impact really does have... Oh, windings! Do we have windings?
No.
Aww.
I know, that's what I was going for to begin with.
Syncopate.
I really like this one. It's very readable.
And also, to explain why we're doing this why haven't the hosts changed the font to a better one?
I never realized that Will's icon was a rat eating the Disney icon.
I've lived with this for years.
I've lived with this for years.
I've had that knowledge for years. I remember the exact moment I finally realized what it was.
Comic Sans is great.
Actually, I really do like Comic Sans. We're gonna maybe punch it up one. How's that, guys? We enjoying Comic Sans? Will is complaining. Times New Roman, you fools. No, this is anarchy. Someone is saying, genuinely, could you make it a bit bigger, please? We shall indeed. Don't you worry. We shall make everything bigger. How's 14? Is that easier to read? Let us know.
I think
Too
so.
big?
Recommendation for Sarkis' backstory. He was a mercenary who stole treasure from the wrong wizard. Yeah, that's a science. Great job.
Great. Also, Thea says, Nat, Xena is pretty femme, and I agree. More
Fine.
butch, please. More butch.
I literally typed into Google butch lesbian warrior.
Thea says, yeah, but Google doesn't know what butch is. I type in
really
androgynous
doesn't.
and I get a femme girl with a pixie cut and jeans. It really, like, it does not have the... What does this Karlach look like that you speak of?
Okay, here.
I doth not know who Karlach
Here.
is. Can I get a full body?
Fine.
I don't even get the horns in that one. Oh, dang. I kind of want, like... I kind of want how the lady was described in God Killer, where it was like a scar on the face.
Okay, let's see. God Killer fan art. That's actually a pretty solid. Actually,
Yeah, I'm not mad.
I'm here for this. I'm here for this one.
I'm here for this. This is much closer to what I was imagining. Chantel says, "What about something like Michelle Rodriguez in Dungeons and Dragons?"
Oh my God! Yes.
We are really like going down a rabbit hole to find the
No.
perfect.
Actually, it's funny that you say that. It's because she was the one I was gonna pick. Wait, hold on a second. Let me just do, because she's like, guys, everyone, if you ever wanted to know how to make me happy, just put a picture of her someplace and it'll make me happy instantly, because she's my, like, literally my favorite actress ever. Absolutely. It's her. That's Sarkis.
With gray hair. Yeah. Or a combo of the two, because he's supposed to be, like, it feels like he comes from, like, a Nordic inspired type. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's
This is
her.
great.
It's her. It's her.
Okay, once again, the band person has appeared saying, this is all going to get cut, and I'm replacing it with images of hot femme girls with a minor scar. And then we get the concession, okay, but Michelle Rodriguez can stay. Yes, she can! Woohoo! Okay.
All right, so we now have our female Sarkis.
And we can leave the name because it is definitely 100% not dependent on... That doesn't sound female or male, one way or the other. What else for Midnight? So I think Midnight needs to have higher initial stakes. The stakes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like there needs to be a little bit more punch.
Like what though? Initially, everyone who is not familiar with the book, Hella, I'm gonna call her Hella. Sorry, guys. That's the way the audiobook person like said, or I guess I'll say Hala. God, I'm used to Hella. Anyway, Hala is trying to navigate her in-laws wanting to steal the inheritance that she's supposed to get from her in-law uncle that took her in when her husband died. So basically, she just wants the house, and she doesn't even want anything. She's willing to give it all up, but she does want the house, and she wants to be able to receive her inheritance properly. So what's a higher stake than that would be appropriate?
So what I would say is, because in the book, she actually is surprised by it and doesn't feel like she wants it. She just wants to be able to like live. Like, I think if they had told her, hey, you'll get the money, but like, can we keep the house? Like, if they had tried to bargain with her.
Oh God, yeah, no, they would.
Hala has a huge, like, she's very giving, and she also can sometimes let herself be taken advantage of. So I think is to make her actively want it. Like, no, I deserve this. And instead of marriage, like when she rejects her cousin, or actually have her cousin not want to marry her, have it be something his aunt wants to do, and then have the aunt try kill her. Like, open with a murder scene. Attempted murder.
I say, make the bird into something that curses her or something like that.
Okay, but in that case, we'd be getting rid of the whole, like, inheritance problem. Either.
Yeah. Perfect.
No, I kind of like the idea of like the inheritance struggle.
Even in the Midnight Zone.
Yeah, but I'm saying open with the do more of a what is it called? Like slash and burn. Like where like the house goes up in flames as they depart from it. Like her family is really fucked. Like let's up the darker stakes. So this would be great in Dawn. Thea says the cousin could be gay or ace to fix the awful ace wreck. One thing I would do is, because there's the idea that her husband was asexual, but he's just kind of like a potato man. And so in the Dawn level, I would make her husband still ace, but actually make them good friends. Like, she is sad at the death of her husband. Even now, she still thinks, because it would just bring a little. So I'm gonna go to Dawn. She was close to her husband, her best friend. He was ace. They tried for kids.
You know what would also been
because
nice?
He did want to be a father, but
Aw.
was not sexual, though never terrible.
Yeah, it was just like unengaging. You know.
See, that awe is exactly what we want. That awe, beautiful. That adds a little, like, he feels like a real person that she was married to.
So I was considering if you wanted to add the aspect that she literally just can't have kids, or she's having miscarriages, but I don't feel like that's like a blah add-on.
That would be Noon. I would add that to Noon.
But what does it add? You know, it doesn't do anything.
Well, it depends on what do we want. So one of my problems with Hala at the start of the book is that she doesn't feel like she's 36. She doesn't feel like she's lived a rich life.
It could help age her, you're right.
It could help age her. It could give her a little bit more, like, she feels shallow in a lot of ways, that she doesn't. And here's the thing. I don't want to say that a miscarriage is going to, like, that is not at all. And so we don't actually have to include it, but I do think we have to add something to her that brings some, like, life experience to her, because she doesn't feel like she has a lot of life experience despite being 36. I also would make her in the Noon level more competent. Like, she actually is, like, when she needs to, she's great at leading a household. She knows, like, she's super economical. Because one of the things they lead into in the story itself, and I would keep this in the Dawn version, is that she gets through life by pretending to be incompetent and by dithering and talking on and asking questions, and it puts people at like it takes them off guard, and so then she'll often, like, get by or get what she wants by sheer annoyance. And I think that's fine to keep in the Dawn level, but I would say in the Noon and in the Midnight, we need to up her stakes. And I wouldn't say more matronly, because I don't like the idea of it being connected to motherhood at all. But I would say make her more competent, make her economical, make her a
but she is kind of already. Like, I mean,
she is matronly, but yeah.
No. I mean, she is, like, I think that, I mean, I suppose it could be portrayed differently, but I think she's already been shaped in the form of someone who is supposed to be competent. Now, whether or not that's executed well is a different thing, but so that's not really changing too much. Although what I wanted to say was, what if, like, again, another thing you could have instead of her, oh God, but that would change a lot. The idea that her husband came into the relationship with a child, but then that wouldn't make sense if he's ace. So I guess that doesn't make any sense.
Honestly, I don't want to lead into, and Angry Otter has made some points. Nah, I think it's fine that she's just not interested in having kids. She doesn't need a reason, like,
Fair enough.
infertility, to not have them. Now, what it could be is that he wanted to have them and they just never got pregnant. And not necessarily that there was no miscarriages, but just, like, in the actual, like, he wanted kids and that was something he was sad about, but she didn't want kids and it just never happened for them.
Well, then I feel like we can just delete this from Noon then, because we're already doing this in Dawn.
Now, what I would say should go in Noon is that she's more, like, she can use stupidity in moments to catch people off guard, but people in her life should know her as competent. Like, the servants should know her as competent. The people who live in the village with her should know her as competent. She should feel like a woman who has been running a house.
But doesn't she already? Like, I remember
She feels like a goddamn potato. She feels like a dummy. She feels like she's 22.
No, I don't disagree. It does feel like that. But there was one scene very specifically where she was, like, taking command of a moment, and I think that was supposed to represent that concept that she was like that, but it isn't carried over.
In Noon, it needs to be bigger. We need to have more competence from her. She needs to feel like a 35, 36-year-old. Whatever her life experiences are, we need to think of life experiences so that she has had, like, maybe there was a year that there was a drought and she had to get really economical with how she stored food. So she still has, like, there has to be something that adds some depth to her outside of, I knew the touch of one man and I didn't really like him and he didn't really like me. And, like, it's just, she feels so shallow as a character in the beginning, and she really feels like a 22-year. Like, we have that problem of characters feeling older than their age all the time. Hallie is the one instance where I feel like Hallie feels so much younger than she is, and so I think that's fine in Dawn, where we leave that and we just chalk it up to her not having life experiences. Like, she just has had a very sheltered life. But I say Noon, we give her some more. Science Fantastic makes the point. Have her be very observant. That is fantastic. Like, she has learned to read people and observe, because it was technically her uncle's house and she was the one just taking care of things. She became like an observer. She watched his dealings. She knows, like, she should know in this version exactly what her uncle is selling, buying. She should be noting it in her books of the house's accounting. Like, that's the level of competency I'm talking about. Yeah, and so Angry Otter says she's already pretending to be incompetent and ditzy in the original book as a defense mechanism, so maybe it should be more cunning and manipulative. Exactly. Our Noon version of her should feel like she is a woman who has ran a house for the past 10 years, but she chooses more so to be, to get out of things. Because I like the idea of soft power, which is within a position where you don't have the ability to have overt power. How are you exerting it? How are you, within the system you're in, how are you taking power? And I like the idea for the past 10 years, while respecting her uncle and liking her uncle, like, having these moments of soft power, having, like, just, and then that's why I like the idea of her,
Valerie.
like, keeping trying.
That's it. Say? I kind of like the idea that instead of trying to unalive herself with the sword, she pulled it off the wall. Like, okay, I'm gonna fight my way out of this, even though she can, like, barely hold it.
Absolutely, that's a Noon. That's a Noon. That is a Noon. And for the Midnight, because they're coming to murder her, she takes the sword off the wall for defense. Like, she's just trying to defend herself.
You know the scene in Pirates of the Caribbean where Elizabeth Swann tries to take the sword off the mantle and it's, like, stuck in the mantle? I would love a comedic scene with that, and then she finally gets the sword out of the sheath.
So that would be in Noon, because I think Midnight is going to be darker. So I would say we can have that in Noon. But I like that. I number one, because I hate, also, in the Dawn, we're taking away the part about her being shirtless. I'm gonna add that right now.
Really?
It just feels like a reason for him to see her boobs. It doesn't feel like it's actually reasonable. She will not be naked. The sword comes off the wall. Science Fantastic says no titties.
No titties.
Yeah. And then Valerie says she can still be a little sexy in a nightgown. It's a nightgown. She's in a nightdress, you know?
Yes, and Sarkis, I'm sure, is used to, like, women, I don't know, wearing woolen things to, I don't know. Like, the thing is, this could be sheer in French or something. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There's a whole bunch of reasons for why. Like maybe she dresses very conservatively normally, but she likes a little lacy, like, under thing. I don't know. We can still have it, but I want him not to think about her sexually in this moment, even in Dawn. Because, like I said, we're moving the point of the decadent South. Yeah, I want her thing to be frilly and, like, slightly impractical. And we have the decadent South. But I want to move that point of infatuation. Like, he shouldn't think about this night sexually until after he's fallen for her. And then he thinks back and he was like, man, she was right there in her nightgown, and I didn't even notice. And now I just have my imagination to fill it in.
Can we move on past the initial scene? I want to get into the meat and potatoes more.
So I would say for the Midnight, she tries to use the sword for self-defense. Now, the most important question, guys, input. Is he a sword, or is he a man when unsheathed? For Dawn, obviously, I think we keep that mechanism for obvious reasons.
That's hard.
But are we having her just fall in love with a telepathic sword who a man exists inside? I like the idea of her embody. You know that moment in Gideon the Ninth where Harrow lifts Gideon's sword and Gideon is in her body helping her fight?
Wait, are we keeping, though, in Midnight version, Sarkis as a woman?
Yes, I would like to keep Sarkis as a woman.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I say yes. It's because then it's even, like, sexier. Like, it's the Gideon mechanism. Like, it's like, here, let me assist you. And, like, maybe, like, Zanpakuto style, there's like a spirit or some sort, like, or you know what would be nice also is if the Sarkis can make themselves like they can be visually like seen or something but cannot be physically touched type of thing, like they're no longer like a real person.
I think it would be interesting if at night she has dreams where she can sort of like initially see, but the more she uses the sword, the more she becomes like attuned to it. She can see who, and like there's that unsure, like, is this what my mind is just playing onto? Like, it would be really interesting if she just didn't know for the longest time if Sarkis in the sword was a woman or not, but in her mind it was a woman, and she was like, am I into women?
Yeah.
Is that what this is and then like, no, it is like, I love that.
Oh my god, that would make it stellar for the whole her being with her husband in the past too. It's because you could just play it into the fact that she's actually like, I mean, she could be bi, I suppose, and that would be totally fine too, but it would also play into the mechanic of her being in a marriage previously where there was no sexual chemistry as well. But
Yeah.
whatever, it doesn't really matter either way. It works out.
I love Thea, but will they get to touch like
want
ghost
them to,
like ghost
but
style?
also
No,
not.
no. Listen, if our butch lesbian can help her fight as a form of that, could she not through Hala's own hands?
Oh, Maria. Maria.
Stop, I know.
Maria, that's a little that I don't know how I feel about that though, because I feel like that's a little too like pandering to the audience, you know what I mean?
I know, but it's so like,
it's kind of sad. I really want there. No, I kind of almost like, as much as I would like a Noon for it to be a non-physical being, but for the sake of funsies in the midnight, like to have her still physical.
see, I like the idea of it not being physical, and the idea being that they want so badly to. That,
okay,
like,
I guess
that
you
is-
could build it
that-
up. But then how are they going to communicate? Because I don't like the idea of dreams, only because I feel like that's very like...
No, telepathically. They're talking telepathically.
Oh, okay. So it's just like, so is there any point then during this, a little hilt action?
Valerie, stop it.
But you're so the
I love
gremlin laugh. Maybe not in dreams, but like, you know how like Sarkis is explaining how when he's within the sheath that he's like in a dream of silver or whatever. Maybe oh, what if, I mean, this is very Bleach, but what if like if she learns to like, you know, find her like balance within herself in order to become the swordswoman, you know what I mean? When she like meditates or focuses with the sword, she can interact with the lady within, and that's how she makes a connection, and that's how to like become like, you know, more competent with the sword itself.
Nah, I think that's too much. I think we go Gideon.
That's too samurai.
That's too samurai. I think we go, and I agree. The idea would be at the end of the book they break the actual curse,
And then she's there.
and then she's there, and you know.
And then, wouldn't it be great if it was in the middle of action and then she goes in instantly into fighting, like, and then she just, like, is like, wha-bam, wha-bam, psh.
Yeah, I love that. I love that for her. I love that for both of them.
So we're gonna make it into...
Yeah, I agree with Angry Otter. It's a telepathic romance, and the love breaks the curse. And again, I love the idea of her, Hala, not knowing originally, like, what gender the person trapped inside the sword is, and then, you know, discovering it, coming to, like, and then falling, I love it. And then, like, and then something happens where she's like, and she has to deal with her own perceived notions of what a warrior is, versus perhaps what Sarkis's culture's ideas of what warrior. I love that. Chantal says, does she have to be holding or touching the sword to communicate, or is it sending thought vibrations into the ether?
If we keep the concept that whoever wields the sword is the owner, then I think at any point, as long as it is like, oh God, that's hard. That's really hard because she can't communicate with him when she's in the sheath, when he's in the sheath originally. Maybe only when it's like, yeah, only when it's open, just like before.
I would say that as well. And so having it so that it's never fully sheathed, so that she can still
it still is a mechanic.
And that she's the only one who can hear the sword talking. Think of how cool that would be. Like, nobody else, because one of the problems in the because there's the whole idea that like Sarkis is a man trapped in the sword, blah blah blah, and it's this very obvious magical mechanic. But I like the idea of people just being like, how the fuck do you know how to fight? And like, why are you stronger than you should be? There's no reason for you to be that strong. Science Fantastic says maybe Sarkis's curse is that he or she must serve someone in return for the gold he stole or something. Once he has fulfilled his duty, his curse will break.
But, like, what does that mean exactly?
So, like, let's say there's a specific amount of, like, either an amount of time or in
Oh, I get it.
that is commiserate to whatever his crime was, or, like, the magic of the sword gives certain items or actions worth, like how good the action you were doing in helping, and you have to do a certain amount of good in your helping.
Let's talk about that for a second. Like, how does the curse become... So, honestly, that's a really big piece, too. So, let's come up with the dawn versus noon versus midnight of how the curse works. And how it happened.
So, I think for Sarkis's background in Dawn, I think having him getting cursed by a wizard for taking something...
or witch, yeah.
I think that's great.
I like that.
And it would also just remove the whole dumb, I have a dark past, blah, blah, blah thing.
Yeah, we don't need that in the Dawn version.
He stole something from a wizard or witch who cursed him.
I'm trying to think right now alternatives to this. It's because there's something about the concept of somebody impaling themselves on the sword that I really like. It's because of the whole idea of the Swordheart thing. But I don't really know how I would want...
What if the noon was that he genuinely chose this life and now, 500 years later, is living with the consequences of it?
Oh, wait, what if he was dying?
Ooh, and chose this as an... And so then not only do we have to deal with, like, if the curse breaks, he will die, but the...
Yeah.
Ooh, that's some nice tension. And maybe the conflict in the noon version is that she is trying to find a way to break the curse, but he hasn't told her that he was dying, and if the curse breaks, he will die. And then she's pissed off, like, and that's what upsets her, is that, like, I have been throwing myself at this thing, and it's a legitimate, like, actual thing to be upset about.
Yeah, and we can keep the Smith goddess.
Oh,
like,
I love the idea of the Smith
why not
goddess.
just keep her regardless? Like, she can be the one that he stole from.
What if it's one of his men? One of his men.
Oh, that's even better.
Whom he loved, stole from the Smith goddess.
And that's why it's called Swordheart. It's because it's of the heart. You know what I mean? I'm trying to keep to that theme when I'm thinking about this with the sword mechanics. It's because I really like it.
And Sarkis took the blame and was then cursed. Okay, so Sarkis was dying, but the war his people were fighting was not yet done, so he sacrifices
I don't
himself.
love that. I want it more specific, like in the moment kind of thing. Like, Sarkis was dying, and then, like, the blacksmith goddess, so he's dying, and then maybe she makes a deal with him type of thing, where she's, like, you know how she's, like, mad? She's portrayed as being kind of crazy and, like, wild with her experiments. Like, she's like, oh, you're dying. Well, you're the perfect specimen for this particular thing. Would you like to continue to help your men to survive? And he's like, yes, in whatever way I can. And he doesn't realize it's, like, to be stuck in a sword.
Twisted deal with the blacksmith, but ends up stuck in a sword. Deal gone wrong.
And how does that change in Midnight then?
So Midnight, I think it's closer to the actual story, because I think that's too dark.
Oh, okay, perfect.
But we keep that. I think Midnight, we keep it. Our girl Sarkis and her two generals end up cursed because she made a shrewd call.
Yes, I love that. Okay, perfect.
She made a shrewd call to wanting her and her men / women to be on the right side of whatever the outcome of this war was, and it was the wrong call, and they ended up getting cursed into this sword. So I think having that and the idea of...
I would really prefer the person that they, you know how, like, originally Sarkis's men were supposed to be, they were hired to support this one kingdom, and then they, you know, were turncoats. Instead of that, per se, I would love it if the blacksmith goddess was actually the person who they were fighting for, or she was, like, she's, you know, that she's the person in charge. She's not just like a side character who is like, oh, I get nice little experiments now. Instead, she's like, my curse onto you for switching these sides or for doing
See, I
whatever.
don't see. For me, the reason I don't like that is I like the idea of her as someone who does not give a crap about any of that. She
Oh,
is
okay.
here for the progress of her research, for the sake of the progress of her research. She doesn't care who wins as long as they let her continue doing her research
Fair
and
enough.
get to this point. Making her political or like involved with that, like she's not gonna have time. If she's running a war, she does not have time to do whatever groundbreaking magical thing that has never been done before and
That's
will
true.
never even be done afterwards. She is single-minded. She is single-minded. Her and her two generals
Generals.
get first. Because in this story where we're making it darker, having traitor being the thing written on the sword, it has so much more impact. And the idea of it, like, it can fit in with everything. Chantal says, maybe, unbeknownst to him, he's the special ingredient for a legendary sword recipe that the Smith's goddess is developing for Agent. Like, maybe she tricks him into agreeing to be put into the sword. So yeah, that Chantal would fit into the noon level
Yeah.
of when he's in a moment of weakness. She grabs at him and gets him in the sword. Also, I think in this version, this is the one where when the sword is unsheathed, she can see Sarkis, but he cannot touch her. He can grab and manipulate.
What? What are
So
you doing?
I just had a thought. It's a terrible thought. So in Noon, we're making it so she can see Sarkis, but he can't physically interact with her outside of he can grab the sword and fight with the sword. But like you touch the sword, you can't gut Sarkis, you can't hurt him because you can't touch him. You can only interact with the sword itself. And then I was like, so his only way to interact with the physical world is through the sword.
Oh, Lord.
Kat says, I like the idea of the Smith goddess wasn't that important in her own time, and the cult has blown her out of proportion. And I too, I like the idea of her becoming a religious figure well after her death. And so the idea of just being this kind of mad scientist slash magician working in these like not great conditions. Mwah, I love that, and I think that works very well. So I say for Noon, they don't leave. They kick her family out of the house, but they stay in the house for a while.
Wait, what do you mean?
So one of the things I thought that would happen in the book that didn't happen was I thought they were going to stay, like they spent a lot of time traveling on the road, and I liked the idea of her having this man in a sword just within her house, like as she's trying to like after she gets the.
And you said this is for Dawn?
No, I would say for Noon. Dawn is going to follow the plot of the actual thing pretty well, cutting out the vagrant hills, maybe a little less back and forth, but, you know, still on the road.
So then what instigates her going to travel to find, you know, a lawyer, basically, to get the house if she's going to stay in the house? Do you mean, like, that happens sooner and they accomplish it quicker?
No, I would say that they take a while more to figure out what they're going to do, and, like, they actually hire a horse and carriage because she can access her uncle's money, and so, like, it's less of the traveling. They can still go get the thing, or they like send a letter and then the lawyer comes to them.
I don't know how I feel. The thing is then there's a lack of, we need to create some tension then. It's because then there's such a lack of tension. There needs to, if it's just them pattering about, then that's, you know, like there's not enough going on to keep my interest.
guess that's true. I guess I would say then honestly, the idea I'm thinking would work better in a Dawn version.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean.
I think you're right.
Having her in the Dawn version stay at the house and it be more of like a slice of life type of issue where other issues come up, but they're smaller, more mundane issues. And then with the lurking issue, like for example, let's say I was going to say the film. Let's say the book starts out as her relatives are not there yet. And she's there trying to take care of things. And in her trying to sort through all his large amount, basically a menagerie of strange items. As she's working with it, we can have some comedic beats where it's like the bird thing with the worm. The bird, the bird is the worm, the bird, the bird is the worm.
Okay. Go back. You're on a roll. I like this roll.
Would you like butter with that roll? but she's like sorting through the mess that he's left behind. It's because she's trying to like, take care of matters. And as she's going through this stuff, then she comes across the sword and so on. And then those matters happen. And so the beginning is actually her trying to manage the estate and like getting to know the which I actually also almost like.
I think this is noon.
Okay, then keep it at noon. And then
because it's unfortunately can't be dawn because dawn has to be minimal changes to plot. But I think this is noon, and we can make this the true cozy cottagey romance.
And then in the background is the lingering tension of the relatives coming, and they send like a letter saying, "Prepare the house for us," type of thing. And she's like, oh, they're coming, to, and she doesn't realize that they're going to fight for the will and everything because she thinks it's all set up and done. And then that becomes the tension, and then it proceeds with other things.
No, I agree. I think that works really well for noon. In that case, though, then we might need him to be a physical person, because I kind of like the idea of him helping her sort
in
through,
noon, 100%
boxes.
Still physical.
Still a physical presence. Okay, if that's the case, I would like to make Sarkis a lesbian woman in noon as well.
I know. I love that you just said that. It's because I was going to say the same thing. I really prefer the lesbian woman thing being like, oh, this is woman's work. And she'd be like, you are a woman. And she'd be like, herminer.
Like this is like, this is how you would use me? For this?
This is beneath me. And then there's the anger for that. And she's like, well, look, I'm not a warrior. We are not at war. I don't know what you want from me.
You said you serve me. I need help moving these boxes. They're really heavy. I can't do it myself.
Please get that thing on the top shelf. Catch the bird. And then there could be a comedic thing where the bird gets out and then the Sarkis woman has to fucking, like, chase it down with a broom.
Can the bird be a spirit that protects the house? And
my god, yes.
And
a demon that protects the house.
And they prepare for her family coming, but the bird doesn't let them enter the house. And so like Sarkis thinks she's gonna have to fight them off, and it's gonna be this whole thing, but they just cannot get in because of the birds. Like until Hala, who has now inherited the bird as a
guardian spirit thing.
Yeah, the bird also now serves her. And so until Hala lets them in, they cannot get it. Like, they cannot attack the house with bad will. And so if they're coming with ill will to Hala, they just can't get in. And it's just like a stalemate. Oh, that's fucking hysterical. That's so cute and cozy. And I love the bird. And I like the idea of the bird still saying all the terrible stuff, but also still being, like, protective of Hala in its weird way.
And every time it, like, it communicates, it doesn't actively, directly communicate. Instead, it quotes, like, biblical, like, horrible verses. And it's like, thine who shall not enter, da-da-da-da. I don't know, old speech. But anyway, this would work a lot, like, this would be a nice balance of them being there and maybe, like, they can't get letters out or something because the relatives keep, like, hounding them, but the relatives also can't get in. And so at that point, that's when she realizes she has to go get a lawyer. And, like, if you wanted to move on from there, then you could have, like, the travel thing. And then since you are nixing the Vagrant Hills altogether, that leaves the room for that house stuff to happen. So that way it doesn't feel too, like...
Ooh, and they can leave the house once they realize that the bird is going to keep people from getting in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean. She tells the bird, let no one in, and then she can go get the lawyer because they don't want to leave. Originally, she doesn't want to leave the house and let them take it over because they have a key.
While they're gone, the whole time the relatives have been trying to, like, lure the bird out. It's because they don't understand how it works, and they're just like, or they just don't know what's going on. One of the two.
Could you imagine them just being like, "Here, birdie"?
Yes, and it's like no, and then it's like the depths of the human soul cannot attune to a creature such as I. Appeal to a creature such as I. And then that would be even funnier if the neighbor lady just, like, goes in and out of the house to feed the bird.
Oh, that's hysterical. Like, that would be hysterical if she says, the only person you're allowed to let in is her and just her. so she can feed you.
And so she comes in and out, and the bird is just, and then the relatives are just like, what? Oh my god, I love that the bird is being more utilized as this
I know,
version.
it is a great mechanism in this story, and it is so underutilized.
I really like this author's writing, I really do. I just, I really wish there was, like, more meat.
That's what we're doing, we're adding meat.
I could go for your Christmas dinner. I want to, why, Maria, why aren't you a lesbian?
I don't know how to answer that question.
Everyone, I really wish I could marry Maria instead of my husband, so that way she can just make me really delicious
I literally, a year ago, married the two of you. I was the person standing in between you. Don't say that.
Exactly, you're the person standing in between.
Oh my god, Katie!
No, you guys don't understand. Maria's cooking is, like, it's worthy of, like, betraying someone.
No, it is not. My food is not.
Oh, I love your food so much. I miss it.
Part of it is I specifically cooked to your taste to make sure you eat it.
That's great.
Like, I wanted you to eat, and so I made sure that it was, like, the things you like. Like, I love shrimp and things with shrimp in it. I didn't cook it when I lived with Katie, because...
Isn't she, like, it's just too much. It's too much.
Simmer down, Katie. Simmer down. Okay,
I can't, all this talk of lesbians. Will's gonna get so mad about all this
food talk. He does always complain. Okay, so they stay in the house until they realize it is protected. Then they go to seek the help of a lawyer. And I love the lawyer getter there being like, I'm sorry, even if I thought this was illegal, that bird says the house is yours.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm not gonna argue with the bird.
You didn't even need me to come here other than to make sure the documents were signed correctly.
I love it. We're gonna give them, like, some horses. They have horses.
Yeah, why don't they have horses?
I don't know. Well, because they had to run out. So the point of it here. So in this version, she finds Sarkis just by looking through some of his stuff. Like, there isn't the family is there.
Locking her in.
So what I would change it is that the uncle died suddenly in his sleep, and so the will was read before the rest of the family got there, so everything was hers. They were coming to wreak like havoc and do their stuff. So before that even happened, she's searching, like, she's sitting there, because Hala's Hala, and we've made a much more competent, much more go-getter version of her. So the first thing she's going to start doing is start sorting through the piles of shit that her uncle had for years that she was like, please let me organize. And now that he's dead, she's like, I love you, but this is happening, you know?
Yeah.
And that's when she finds Sarkis. So she finds Sarkis before her family gets there. But I like the idea of the town litigator, the guy who read the will, being like, you know, his family is going to argue with you about this, you know?
Yeah.
And her being like, well, I'm going to deal with this in the meantime. And then she gets the sword. The family comes, tries to get her out. They cannot, because they physically cannot come into the house. And then she goes off on to find, with the horses that she doesn't have to be in a rush with, they travel to the main city.
So I guess she won't be thrown into ditches randomly every now and again, which is great. That was such a waste of space, I'm sorry to say. And then, of course, we have that other character, the other collector friend. And that could also be, like it already is, another source of tension. It's because he could be trying to... I would prefer him to be a more active character in trying to upend her attempts or in her, like, efforts to acquire the home, like, legally. I would much prefer if he, like, tried to... Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think... sorry, I'm changing because Science Fantastic said, do we still have gnolls in this world? Absolutely.
And I want to see the gnolls from the start. We're seeing the gnolls out the gate. In all three versions, gnolls are immediate.
And it's not just... And in fact, maybe she has a gnoll that works for her uncle that weeds and takes care of the chickens or something like that. Mm-hmm. Just like the taking care of the ox. Or whatever, and instead of just gnolls, I also want other types of people.
In all versions.
It's so infinitesimal.
I don't know why this happened.
But I also would like other, like, animal people or whatever. I don't really care what it is, but I want, like, maybe not goblins and orcs and stuff, but, like, I wouldn't mind maybe, like, not insectoid people, but like maybe the creatures that were in the Vagrant Hills. Maybe there are some of those guys or things that are like that, like centaurs and stuff like that. that are up and about doing different types of jobs and have different, because that was a really fun world building aspect, and it made it more unique than just simply, oh, this is old timey and there's like, you know.
So I think for the dawn and even the midnight, we can't do that, especially for the dawn, because this is part of a larger world that she's created, and I don't think she has those other creatures. I think gnolls are creatures that appear in that other story. So she wrote a trilogy that I'm pretty sure are about those Slarek guys.
Yeah, that's
the
what
demon slayers. Yeah,
that's what somebody said.
And so I think the gnolls are just a part of this world, and so I think in midnight and stuff we can add other things, because that's the version where we're like, we do what we want. But I think in dawn we need to keep it within the parameters of the world she has created.
That's
also fine. Valerie says,
I know,
God,
I was going to
reminds me
point
of
that
going
out.
through my hoarder grandfather's garage after he died. Peak drama. I found film negatives of their nudes.
Hey, at least like your family was interesting. My unfortunately my grandparents were in a very stale marriage the majority of their life.
That's what I want a chunk of the book to feel like. Like, I just want it to be them going through her uncle's weird old shit. Like maybe she discovers that her uncle is gay while going through some of this stuff. Like just those kinds of details that can help. And maybe the uncle being gay is why he was so close to her husband, because they were both a bit different than everyone else, and he understood, you know, not having like, and that's why he was also close to Hala. Not that Hala knows she's a lesbian in any of the versions, but yeah, I kind of like that. So Thea is talking. Well, I guess I'll wait for Katie to come back about this. Like, we're just let me see if I need to clean up anything. So a gnoll works for her uncle. Follows the main plot, but removes some side things. Okay, I say we get rid of the hanged mother people. That just felt like an unnecessary side quest that led us to the Vagrant Hills. So have maybe one brief interaction with hanged mother peeps instead of constant, because it absolutely has no bearing on the rest of the story, except that by killing the one hanged mother person, they end up taking that they have to bury him. Like, the hanged mother people are just so useless to the story.
I have an idea, because I've been listening to you this whole time. I forgot my water. Fuck, that's fine. Because I ran upstairs to tell you this.
No, go get your water. I'll just keep talking. It's fine. You can say your thing.
Oh God, I'm so out of breath.
That's why you went to get the... You literally left to get water, ma'am.
I know. Oh God, I'm so out of breath. Anyway, so wait. What if the hanged mother people, you know how like they're against witches and shit? What if her family in one of the versions hires the hanged mother people to, I don't know, do whatever for her because she has a household full of witchcraft items.
Are they against witchcraft? I don't...
Yeah. That's like the whole thing. It was like if you were considered magical or a witch, like they would burn you.
Like, they have magic.
They don't have magic.
So actually we had some comments talking about the evil neighbor, or not neighbor, her uncle's friend. Thea said, I immediately knew he was going to be a bad guy. Also, it implied he is gay, so it was a little problematic that the only gay guy was a sleazy backstabber. Thea said, we can do something a bit more subtle with him, or just have him bad guy from the get-go. Angry Otter says, and this is about Hala and her husband, or everyone knows they are gay, so the idea would be Hala knows that she's into women in noon and in midnight. And that it's a lavender marriage from the start, so that they are genuinely best friends who end up
Yeah.
And I like the idea of they don't start, like, they don't know each other. It is an arranged marriage, but they end up very quickly being honest with each other about who they are, what they love, and just becoming best friends within this marriage that neither of them would have actually chosen. But it is, as far as the small town that surrounds them, the best thing that they could think of, like, that they end up building a really nice, cute little life together. Someone says I was a little unclear on. Valerie says I was a little unclear on what the Hanged Mother folks were about. I just thought they were bullies.
So obviously this is an issue regardless, and it should be clarified.
So I think in the Noon version, we take the Hanged Mothers out. I
100% agree.
I think we keep Hanged Mothers definitely in Midnight, but we amp it up. Like, they actually, she's traveling around with a sword that increases her strength, and they think she's magical, you know? Like, because one of the ways they get away with it is Sarkis is just a guy holding a sword. In the actual book. But if we're going to make the Hanged Mother anti-magic, or at least anti-magic that they themselves do not control, or that they deem does not come, they are anti-necromancer and anti-demon, the Hanged Mother people, but everyone is. Yes, so they're not anti-magic. That's what I thought. I was like, I don't remember them just being like, fuck magic and witches.
But if they're anti-demons, all the more reason. Well, like, again, for the bird thing.
Oh, that would be interesting. Oh, that's exactly it.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So we are keeping them in Noon. I say we take them out of Dawn then. I really don't like, as far as them traveling and just interacting. So we take them out of Dawn, but in Noon, her family realizes, in Noon, her family realizes that this bird has powers. They go to the Hanged Mother people and they say, oh, she has a demon and she's using the demon.
We need you to get rid of it. But then they keep struggling to get inside the house regardless. And you can either take it the comedic route, or you can take it the slightly more serious route.
Comedic. It's comedic. Noon is cozy, cottagey, comedic. This is Noon.
In Midnight, the Hanged... what would happen, though, in the Midnight version? Because there's got to be more to it to bite into than just them showing up to be like Demon Bird. You know what I mean?
Well, one of the things we have to decide with Midnight is what it... Because we've got the plot of Noon. We know the plot of Dawn. The plot of Dawn is the actual thing. We just take out the Hanged Mother bits. I say keep the bandit bits in because they're kind of funny, but get rid of Hanged Mother because we're not going to the Vagrant Hills, so we don't need that whole interaction. But we know what's happening in Noon. We've just created the majority of the plot of Noon. And then the final battle will be between them, the Hanged Mothers, and her family in front of her house. And then I say she ends it by releasing the demon that was in the bird, but it chooses to stay and hang around anyway, because it's just...
Calcifer style.
Yeah, it's been a bird so long. We'd have to figure out what actually happens in the climax, because there needs to be some raised stakes at the end there. So yeah, I think in Midnight, they see Sarkis as a demon, and they think she gets possessed by a demon, because remember, in Midnight, it's just a sword that is Gideoning her with strength, and so when she doesn't have the sword, she's weak when she has it, and so they think, like, she's being possessed maybe by a demon, and so they are specifically targeting Hala in the Midnight version. But the Midnight, I think, might have to be a separate video, because we're coming up onto 12, which is just about when we end these things. And I think Noon is we have a pretty solid idea of how Noon plays out, but I think Midnight, which I think could be really interesting, needs some work as far as like what the actual plot of Midnight is, and how that all works together. So if we do a second rewrite video of this, I think that would be what we would do, you know? Any ideas? Because I think Noon is the one that's developing the most right now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, any ideas, guys, either for Midnight or for Noon, before we wrap this whole thingy up? The climax is the Hanged Mothers and the Paladins, because I like the idea of the Paladins maybe coming in there trying to take down the house. Zale has to make a legal argument. Honestly, I think, and this would suck because I really like Zale, but I think, I guess we have to have Zale. We'd have to work that out a little bit. Science Fantastic said more boobies for all. And then Angry Otter says boobies bouncing boobily down the stairs.
Yes. It's perfect.
Breasted boobily. Welcome to our Patreon. Like, these are our patrons. It's smart out here. We are smart people doing smart things. I think that's pretty good. I do think having a second video where we kind of ruminate on noon and midnight a bit more.
Where we, like, literally also sew it together into one cohesive piece.
Exactly.
But I'm glad that we discussed this. I like that this is, like, our rough draft.
Yeah.
And we're gonna create an...
But that's why you have to do this, because there's so many changes you can make. You need to organize it into changes that are really different, the midnights, the changes that are like closer to the feel of the actual story, but just maybe work better, the noons, and then the dawn, which is take what the author did, but just try and make it better within what the author did. And I think these three things we've done really kind of hit on that. I do think midnight needs to develop more, but I think this is a great starting point of organizing.
What we should do is you and I should have a workshop together prior, honestly, so that way we have like a more cohesive narrative when we're on live, and then we can go through it. But I think we should have another one where we actually finish this, because this has a lot of like potential to it.
Yeah, I like the idea of developing noon and midnight into like distinct plots.
I like noon the best, honestly.
I want to see where midnight would go.
Me too.
The reason why I like noon so much now versus when we started is because noon also it has butch lesbian sarcasm.
Yeah.
Once we threw I love the idea of butch lesbian Sarkis like tilling the fields or helping like cut some
I love that.
crops down and just being like, this is what you're using me for. Like, usurp.
Back in my day, I was the scourge of the North, and I could take down a dire wolf with my bare hands. And you're having me cut down or pluck corn.
And then at the end, when finally the battle happens, when the hanged mother people are attacking, she's like, yes! This is it! my time.
And then you know what would be really funny is that she begins to like fight, but then something really quickly, or okay, look, I would love for her to have the opportunity to fight, because then great scene, but it would also be incredibly funny if they were all just instantly like rendered like, you know, not a threat, and then she's like, oh god damn it.
Yeah, like if Zale came in and was like, from a legal point of view, as the demon is inside the body of this bird, it is considered a non-threat. And the house is hers, so everybody, and then it goes, so I like the idea of maybe while they're traveling to keep in this version, while they're traveling to where Zale is, they do have an altercation with some bandits where Sarkis does get the chance to, like, be a badass and show everyone that she's cool and can use a sword. Chantel says, all of the cozy vibes in Noon makes me wish she had a baking hobby. I know it probably doesn't fit, but I love the idea of the bird oppressively micromanaging over her shoulder while she bakes a cake. Chantel, I love that. I love the idea of this, Chantel. Add this, Katie. Add that she's got a baking
In which
hobby,
area?
Under Noon. And she stress bakes. And the bird just watches her as she stress bakes. Says terrible things, and she says things like, you're going to make the cake taste bad if you keep saying all of this while I'm baking it. But then she gives the bird little pieces of like the cookies and stuff that she makes, and the bird and that's why the bird stays in the end. Thea said, I actually want to write a book like Midnight, but Noon is hilarious and very fun. Valerie says, or the paladins step on the crops she's been working on and she just rages at them.
Oh my god, what if she's struggling this whole time because she's never been able to like really grow things very well? Like she bakes wonderfully, but she can't grow things very well.
Oh no, this is Sarkis. Sarkis has
Hala
made Sarkis.
Stop it, that's even
I know. Hala made Sarkis work in the fields, and she was so grumpy about it, but then when somebody steps on her crops, she's like, not today, Satan.
Yeah, maybe like Sarkis, it's because, again, woman's work, or not woman's work, but peasants, not warriors' work.
Yes, exact. That's the difference.
Yeah, it's not gender, it's just social class. And so she's like, I spent so much time doing this, and then just like instantly loses it and comes after them with a hoe.
Like just so much righteous fury. Oh, I love this so much. Guys, Noon is banging.
I know, Noon really is banging. Noon's the best of all worlds. And Noon, I feel like, is fully realizing the vision while simultaneously changing to good things.
And like I said, I think Midnight could be really good with a darker, more moody setting, and more like what I would want from Midnight is an actual like fantasy adventure plot. But Noon is just Noon is what I wanted from this book. Noon is like legitimately what I wanted this book to be.
That is actually what I wanted this book to be as well.
Also, I'm so here for lesbian butch Sarkis.
I really prefer that. It like there's something about it that's very fresh. Beyond the fact that again it's two women, but like there's just a lot of really fun like little twists on gender roles or gender expectations combined with like two women, but just like from different areas of expertise coming together to have the hots for one another. I mean, I'm like, love that.
I love it so much. And I also really like the idea of Hala genuinely loving her husband and missing him every day and talking about him in a way that feels like it was impactful. Because then, remember I was saying I wanted her to feel like she had life experience? We give her a little grief, you know?
Yeah.
She has
Yeah.
lost her best friend. And in this crazy battle-hungry warrior woman who popped out of a sword, she is getting a lover that she never had, but also finding friendship again in a way that she's closed herself off to for the past few years, you know?
I also think the friendship between her and another woman, but a warrior woman, is somewhat that's like more satisfying than a male and a woman in this particular plot line. There's just, it's because she doesn't have any female friends.
No, she's got nothing.
And so it's kind of like this really nice combo of romance and camaraderie.
I'd also like the servants in the household to be a bigger part of the story.
Oh my god, I know, right? But hey,
Yes.
it does kind of it would make sense if the uncle didn't have a lot of other servants in the household. Like it would just be like a select few. It's because of his like eccentricity.
It would be the old man gardener / person who...
Yeah, but can't like really like till the yards like he used to.
Brindle is now the knoll that works in the garden, and
I
in the
love
crops.
that.
Yeah.
Or with
So
the
we still
animals
have-
on the
Yes.
animals.
And there's an old gardener who wasn't in charge of the crops, but he's too old now. And then at the and now, you know, Sarkis has to help out and stuff. And then maybe Chantal said, I want to read Noon now. Me too. I too want to read Noon now. Thea says, that is very lapis and peridot. It is. And then Valerie says, still horny, but more emotional and less boners and nipples. Exactly.
So everybody who may or may not be interested in having us fully flesh out the Noon alterations, please let us know. It's because I personally now vaguely want to write a fan fiction for it.
Yes, it sounds so cute. I love it so much.
Will, are you lurking somewhere in the background here right now? If you are, reach out.
It's your moment. Appear now, sir. We'll allow it.
He's probably not.
You know, the minute we actually started doing, like, getting attached to an idea and started doing good work was when he was gone. Valerie says, I'm so invested. Me too, Valerie. Me too.
We should write a scene together. Bro, what if we wrote a scene together for this?
Oh, God. It would be so cute. Maybe. Listen.
We all know between your style and my style, it's, like, delightful.
Katie's writing style and my writing style really come together to create a fantastic... I'm really good at, like, moving the plot forward and dialogue and just, like, the things happening, and then Katie just comes through. Like, I remember there was this one time Katie and I were writing a Hobbit fan fiction together.
Dude, we only got to the first 2 scenes and it was already like 30 pages long.
It was so funny, but there was this point where I was like, a sunset was happening outside this window, and
my God.
Katie just came through. So, like, again, all I did was write what is happening, here's the dialogue, and then Katie just came through and went, let me paint the visuals upon...
Yeah, I made it into like the Breath of the Dragon or some shit. So that way it was like, it was foreshadowing Smaug later on.
It was so good, and it was just so pretty, and I was like, I would never have done that. That wouldn't have been what I did. We work really well together.
Oh man, I still have like a very large fondness for that Thorin. Oak and Shield
Man.
fanfiction.
I don't think anything will beat my love for the Kenpachi one.
I know. What did we call it? 9 flowers?
It was so cute. We wrote a Kenpachi from Bleach, who's this big burly, do we have a type? Like battle hungry, like just dude with a very proper classical Japanese madam of a house. Like it was and we had like servant drama. Like it was written very comically.
Yeah. Man. Okay, what are we doing?
We're ending it. This is it. We're done. We're 12 o'clock. This is it. Any last thought, guys? Kat says, would totally read the Noon fan fiction. SS Soto says, OMG Katie, that's too relatable.
I don't know what part was the overwriting.
Overwriting be my curse. I think this went really well. I think one of the good things about doing it this way when we talk about the rewrites, and why sometimes I think like if you're playing through an idea of your own, thinking about the 3 different ways you could write it and then sorting the ideas into these 3 ways
it's so helpful, isn't it?
Is a bit more like, obviously this is really helpful when you're thinking about rewriting something, but I think your own ideas having, because I literally have, which if I ever wrote it would potentially be, there's 2 things I will write that will either be my first published, I mean, I don't want to say published, but the first book I finish. The first one is a story that is a oh god, what is that trope called when the baby is replaced by a troll?
Oh, you mean Changeling?
Yes, a changeling sci-fi story where the main character is the, like, you very quickly,
is this a new idea, or is this something?
No, it's old. I wrote it 8
yeah
months
isn't
ago.
it the one that you wrote about, and didn't you write something and I read it?
So I wrote a short story version of it, and it's about
yes, I know which one.
And it's more about like coming into your own, like despite like being different from your family, or just coming into adulthood as something different than you were as a child, but also a changeling story. It's a family, like it's connects with the different things of like, as this person grows up, it becomes different from those around her, how it impacts her family, blah blah blah. Anyway, there's that one, or one about a girl who is trained to become the replacement for a princess, and the princess ends up dying at the end of it, and that one's definitely fantasy. But I have like 3 different versions of that one. Like there's 3 ways I could write that, depending on how much magic I want, how much of a particular thing I want. Do I want it to just be a standalone, or do I want it to be a series? Also, Thea mentioned also the changeling myth came up because of autistic children. That's how they explained it. That would actually make a lot of sense.
I remember reading about that.
Also, one of the closing things, Thea said boobies, and then Kat said, is that a trope, Thea? And then Thea said, my final thoughts. I think this was a really fun video. Thank you for your ideas. You guys were throwing a lot of good stuff out there. Thank you. That was great.
Thank you so much for bearing with us. It's because I know this wasn't exactly every second stellar entertainment, but like it was quite conducive to the brain juices. So thanks for accompanying us on this journey.
Katie, do we have a Patreon that people might be able to join?
We do have a Patreon, Maria. Please let me tell you about it. We have a Patreon that you can join, and there are different levels, Maria. I think you can join, right?
There are 3. Does Katie know them?
I still don't know them.
Oh, God.
There's the Parasocial Darling tier, which is the top one.
Yes, good job.
And I know with that one, you can see our editing, Will and I's editing videos, where we discuss like how to make writing better on a microscopic level rather than a macro, where we discuss plot and character arcs and stuff. There's also 2 other ones I don't know.
There's the book club members, which the book club members and the Parasocial Darlings get to nominate books every month. We pick 3 that we're interested in reading. They vote on one of
As
the 3.
Chantel says, great for writers.
Great for writers, the Parasocial Darlings and the critique streams. And then we do these live streams, and book club members and Parasocial Darlings get to be part of the live streams. We do 2 live streams a month. Technically we do 3. We do a mid-month book where it's a book that Will picks and everybody reads it and we talk about it together. We do the end of month live stream, which is the book that the patrons got to nominate and then vote on. And then Katie and Will do once a month the critique streams, which are done as a live stream, so people get to interact and engage with stuff. Whenever we do rewrites, it is also a Patreon live stream that people can attend. And then our last tier is just our normal like patron tier. It is you get the Discord, you get to interact with us when we actually show up on Discord. Will is way
And it's really
there.
fun for people to be part of that community because you guys can discuss a lot of things. We have a writing a writing thread. We have a book thread. We have a mental health thread. We have an artwork thread, and so it's a lot of great like sub communities to be a part of.
Our fans are just good people. Like they're great.
If you don't have the money for that type of stuff, which I certainly don't, I've had to cut my subscriptions to things lately because of my budgeting. But if you still want to support us at all, just leave a comment on one of our videos or subscribe on YouTube so that way we know that you guys like the content we're making and we continue to do so, even though we have full-time jobs / a lot of other stuff going on. Have a happy holidays, everyone.
This video won't come out before Christmas, but you know, we love you, our parasocial darlings, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.